Welcome back to the Webby O'Neill channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the latest updates surrounding Dan Ashworth and how this whole saga might end up playing out. We want to get you involved as ever, Red, so get involved in the chat and we will discuss some of your comments throughout today's video. First of all, how did you sleep, actually, after that Luton game? I got you there, didn't I?
Yeah. Not very well, to be honest with you.
No. Is that new mattress not done you any better?
No, the new mattress is doing me good, but United ain't doing me good because I was like watching the game again in my head while I was trying to sleep, and it didn't work well because there was a few things I wasn't happy with. But hey, you know, I'm here now. I've got over it, and we move on.
Yeah, plenty to discuss today. Hopefully you'll all get involved as well, and we will read out some of your comments. But first of all, yeah, he's been placed on gardening leave, been locked out of computers, all the databases at Newcastle. So what's your overall thoughts at the moment?
Listen, I'm laughing. I said last week, Newcastle won't be happy. Oh my God, they're not happy. Reports are saying Newcastle are not happy in the manner in which United have approached this. It just seems chaotic, but there's a lot of things there Newcastle aren't happy with. And to be honest with you, every Newcastle fan has just had a slap in the face because whoever they thought they were and going to be, they ain't anymore, because United have just shown them who they are, and United are top of the tree. We are Man United. We can do what we want, and we're going for Dan Ashworth, and we're taking him from you, and that's the end. Well, Newcastle fans do not like that, because since they've had the Saudi Arabians in, they think they're the biggest club, richest club in the world. Well, they've just had a slap, because at the end of the day, no matter what, Man United are up there, and Dan Ashworth's coming to Man United.
Yeah, it's still good to see that the football pyramid, the structure is still there, you know, despite our on-field performances in the last 10 years, and we're still at the top, and we've still got that pulling power, no matter what is going on at Newcastle with their project. You know, you look at the Saudis, you know, away from football in terms of business, you know, they get what they want, let's face it. So when someone like Manchester United's coming in and they're seeing their sporting director wanting to leave for a project, in my eyes, that's, you know, going to be out of this world maybe in a few years in terms of the players and the recruitment on the pitch, you know, possibly a new stadium, etc. So it's all looking bright going forward, and, you know, Dan Ashworth obviously thinks so as well.
Well, Dan Ashworth thinks so. And Newcastle, like I say, they've just had a slap, really, because whoever they thought they were...
How hard do you think that slap is? Do you think it's a proper slap across the top of the head, the cheeks?
No, I think it's a proper slap.
Yeah.
I think it's
an Archie slap.
Oh, it's a big one. You know, it's one what can
a
like
backhander.
It can do you damage. This, you know, that's how hard this slap is, because it's actually telling Newcastle, the owners, the people in there working, that at the end of the day they are not what they think they are. I mean, at the end of the day, Dan Ashworth, long-term project, comes to Man United, and he's not going to be here 18 months, 2 years. He's here for at least 10 years. That's a long-term project. Newcastle thought they had him for long-term because they had everything. We are the big, look at us and all that. Well, you're not. You're down there. That's what this is proving in the hierarchy. Now, it's going to cost United. No two ways about it, because they are angry. They are angry at the way United have conducted themselves, so they say. I mentioned it last week. I didn't think it was the right way to approach this. I thought it should have been done differently. But at the end of the day, it's best in class. And maybe Newcastle United have like put the block on this. And Man United have said to Dan Ashworth, look, you're going to have to go in. They won't talk to us. They won't communicate with us. You're going to have to put your foot through the door and go and smash that glass door.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, we're having to go off what the journalists are saying here, like your David Ornsteins, etc. But do you think there is anything that where United have actually approached Newcastle in the past and they've kind of, you know, had that hand put in the face? You know, like when you go to a nightclub and the doorman puts their hand in front of your face because you've got a pair of trainers on and you want to get in, kind of thing. And, you know, United have had to come away, and this is the consequence of that. And it's Dan Ashworth then having to lead this in terms of asking to leave Newcastle.
I said last week, I thought it was the other way round. I thought United hadn't spoken to him. But reflecting on what's gone on this weekend, how it's been done, and the news coming back and the noise coming back from Newcastle, I think there might have been an approach. So I might have been wrong with my take on it last week, which, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we can all get things wrong. Do you know what I mean?
It just seems like polar opposites here, though, in the way they conducted themselves in getting Omar Barada, and how that was done under like secrecy, really. And none of the journalists were reporting on it until late of it being official. But this seems to be dragged out in public a lot more.
Yeah, maybe because Newcastle were like having none of it, didn't want any of it, hoping that it'd go away, and that they've already rebuffed United. And when you look at the Omar Barada, that was the correct way, and it was brilliant the way it was done. So when something like this came up last week publicly, I just reacted to it and thinking, no, this isn't the right way to do it. Maybe Dan Ashworth has been forced to walk in there, and Newcastle talking about 10, these are reports, 10, 20 million pound to release him. Well, when you look at it, big business, £billion, dollars, or whatever it is, companies, corporations throughout the world, when they go and pick people from other industries and they want them because they regard them as best in class, 10 million, 20 million, it's just normal. They pay it. So the way this is, 10, 20 million, and I think it'll be the upper end of 20 million that United will have to pay. But it's best in class. And it's not ideal, this delay, to be honest with you, for Eric Ten Hag, because he needs him in before the summer. Obviously, United have got the plan. Barada, Dan Ashworth, there's others to come. So I think United want it all in the summer. So it could be a problem. They might have to just pay it. But the reports I've read, Newcastle are worried about the sensitive material. Dan Ashworth knows the transfer business, the commercial business. They're talking, the reports I've read there, they're talking about not releasing him until after the summer. Well, that is not ideal for Man United. So they might have to get a move on here.
The thing with like the databases and all that, you would have thought Dan Ashworth would have his own ideas, his own database, and he'll have access to the actual Ineos database, with scouting players, because they'll have their own as well, Ineos.
Yeah, Ineos will have their own, but at the end of the day, he might be able to bring something to the party away from Newcastle and take it away. Ideas, seeing what the future is from a commercial point of view, from a transfer business point of view. You know, all these things there can help Manchester United. So he knows what he's doing, Dan Ashworth. He's been around. He's been the best in class, as people say. So United need to get him, but he will bring something from Newcastle, and they know it because they know what their plans are going forward. But Man United haven't known what the next 10-year plan is. They used to under David Gill and all that many years ago, but now it's like 1 year to the next. Lucky if it's 1 year to the next. Whereas Newcastle have got a 10-year plan. United now want that 10-year plan, and they want the right people in. So it could be sensitive material, what he knows, Newcastle, and they don't want him to bring.
Talking about a plan, but when can this plan actually be put into place by Dan Ashworth and start working for Manchester United? Because all reports out there are saying it definitely won't be this summer. So does that then throw our ideas going forward out of the window? You know, who's going to make them decisions and going into the summer regarding transfers, etc.? Well, are we still going to be leaving it to the same people, like your John Murtough, people around him?
Well, David Ornstein, in his report last night, in his conversation last night, he was saying Newcastle don't want Dan Ashworth here this summer. And it's imperative that United get him before the summer, end of May. At least got to get him in to work with Omar Barada and going forward. This is a transfer this summer what's got to be important for Manchester United and shows you the direction they're going to go, and also the spending pattern. So everyone needs to be on board, needs to sit round a table, and everyone needs to be in place to go forward. It makes sense to me that. But delaying it, I think United might be forced to push the issue here and go right at it and proper upset every Geordie and all of Newcastle and just say, we're the biggest club, he's coming to us, there you go, there's the money, stop messing about.
There's a kind of an irony to this though, isn't there, that, you know, for a long time now, especially us two and a lot of yous out there, I've been saying, let's stay away from marquee signings, whereas Dan Ashworth could be the actual marquee signing here of Manchester United and come with a hefty transfer fee as well, because, you know, by all reports, Newcastle are wanting to play hardball and they're looking at for at least £20 million. And for a sporting director, you know, I've not heard of that.
It's unheard of.
It's unheard of.
Yeah, it's unheard of. I think what it is when you say best in class, everyone they're going to get in, I think what it is, you've got to look at a jigsaw puzzle, right? And he's a piece of that puzzle. He's not going to be the star man. Omar Barada won't be the star man. They'll all be stars in their own right, in their own field, in what they do, and they're all going to be sat together. Without each other, I don't think they'll be able to get that Stardust quality. So it needs to be put in place. But
they all need to make sure that their departments are of standard and are actually running in the direction together, though.
It has to be together, and they have to be in before the summer. So the way Newcastle are playing hardball with all the reports, I can understand them being angry. Right, I can understand them being angry because, like I said at the beginning, big slap, and it does hurt.
But the thing is, though, sorry to interrupt you, I'd probably need to look on this and do some research. But if any of yous out there know, but wouldn't they have had to have done the same thing with Ashworth getting him from Brighton, coming in and being like this kind of thing?
I think they would have. I think the conversations were. Listen, Brighton are quite happy to release people. Players and everything, good players, bring the money in. That's part of their strategy, and they move on. Everything works well. So the people they've got in, listen, Brighton...
They're a selling club, aren't they, really,
they're a selling club, and that's what they do. They get people, they manoeuvre them in place, they do good jobs, but they're always prepared to lose everybody. But what it is with Brighton, there's always someone in the wings ready to come straight in and fill that gap. Whereas with United, Man United, that is, right? There's never been anyone straightforward to fill the gap. This seems to be the ideal jigsaw puzzle part of the piece.
Yeah, Richie in the chat says Newcastle paid Brighton 5 to 7 million compensation, according to whichever report you believe.
Yeah, well, that's fine. They understand it. And then they're asking the same for Man United, but they're going to ask a bigger fee because Man United are the biggest, and they're actually showing that they're bigger than Newcastle United. So they're just going to stick it right up United.
So Newcastle fuming here because it's put the brakes on their future and their strategy then going forward, because they've seen Ashworth as like the key cog in all that, and now they've got to maybe start it all over again by bringing another sporting director in.
Yeah,
who they might not see as best in class and better than Ashworth.
Listen, Newcastle have known for a while. I think United, the way I'm reading it now is I think United have made an approach in some way previously. And so Newcastle have been aware for a while, and they've known, right, that his head's been turned, Dan Ashworth. So I think they've been preparing as well. I don't think the size of Newcastle and the background, the people they've got in there, they'd have been sat on their hands. I think they've been working away, looking for somebody, and that person will be in. And I think that's why this noise may go on for a bit longer, because they won't announce the new person in to take Dan Ashworth's place until May. I think that's what will happen. I think they'll just play hardball. We're angry. Who do you think you are? And playing games in the background. I think they'll have already looked at somebody ready to bring in. I don't think they'll have been caught off the, caught short here.
Yeah. No matter what articles you read, though, the standout phrase is what you read about Dan Ashworth is, he's a genius who buys footballers for tiny amounts of money and then sells them on for tens of millions of pounds. But do you think he'll also have to raise his own standard in terms of players that he's bringing into Manchester United, with the first thought of, no matter what age they are, that these players are going to have to get into develop into the first team to challenge for the Premier League, not to just develop into teams that he's been at in the past, just to get mid-table or trying to get into the Champions League places?
I think Dan Ashworth will know the scrutiny he's going to be under and the challenge what he's got. He's going up the pyramid here to the top. He's coming from Newcastle. He's come from Brighton.
Where would you say Newcastle are in the pyramid?
Middle. Yeah. In the middle, because at the end of the day, United are way above him. But Dan Ashworth knows that. So he knows he's got to up his game or he's out if he doesn't achieve what United want. And he has to look at players. I think he'll get a shock when when teams and clubs start coming at United and demanding X amount of money, that there is a tax.
There's always been a Man United tax as well, yeah. I know he obviously works for Manchester United, fingers crossed that does happen.
Yeah, well, I think he'll get a little bit of a shock, but I think he'll play hardball, because I think Ineos will play hardball. And I think what Ineos will do, they will look at producing younger players, going for cheaper players and producing through the academies and all that, and putting them and giving them the chance earlier than what they've been getting for the last few years.
How do you think it's going to play out with Erik ten Hag as well, with Dan Ashworth? Can you see Erik ten Hag still staying under Dan Ashworth? Because obviously the sporting director will be just above the manager. Then the director of football, there's been names out there like Josh Wilcox may come in. Do you think he'll still come in, a director of football, before Dan Ashworth? To work alongside Erik ten Hag, or do you think Murtough's here until Dan Ashworth arrives?
Listen, Omar Baradi's not here. Dan Ashworth's not here. Anyone what they're bringing in, I do believe, right, that what they'll do, they'll get them in here in May and then all meet right through the summer and start dealing with it. I don't think
So
anyone,
do you think
I don't think anyone will walk in here, right, and replace somebody right now. I think they're getting them all in position. You know, Omar Barada's on gardening leave. All these, anyone else they go for will be put on gardening leave. I don't think they want to disrupt what's going on with Erik ten Hag now, and this sort of like mini revival in results. I'm not saying a revival in the style of play or anything like that, but at the moment, Erik ten Hag's dealing with what he is, and he's got to be left to get on with that. And Ineos, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Sir David Brailsford, they've got to concentrate on what goes on at the end of May onwards and bring people in. And they might bring loads of people in. Because they won't walk in and disrupt what's going on now. There's no need for it, to be honest.
Because interviews that you're hearing from Erik ten Hag, especially recently, he makes it sound as though there's already plans set in stone going into the summer here for Manchester United in terms of recruitment, etc.
Yeah, but he's not going to go into detail. He's just fobbing them off. He's fobbing them off. He's there. Other people should be discussing some of these questions, what Erik ten Hag's giving. So he's just fobbing them off. It gives an impression that he's part of the future, and I think he will be part of the future going forward, especially for next year, because it will take a while for everyone to be working together, understanding each other and getting things right. It will take a while. So if Ineos are thinking of changing the manager, they won't change him, as I see it, won't change him this summer. They'll wait until the following year, see how Erik ten Hag gets on with his people and all that, and see if everyone's the right fit. Everyone what comes in might not be a right fit, and Ineos will act quickly because they have acted quickly before, as we've seen with Nice.
Yeah, Erdin says, seems like Newcastle can give it out but can't take it. Reality check for a little club. Love that, my mate.
Yeah, it's a reality check.
Yeah, Lollipop says, a lot of nice gardens around Manchester. I think she means because of Dan Ashworth being on gardening leave. You can get your backside to mine as well, work on mine, but I'm skint, so you're not getting paid, Dan. And I come across on Google earlier on, and it was a bit of information that I've not heard of. I'm not too sure if you have out there. But it's on to Dave Brailsford and Dan Ashworth, and that they'd first formally worked together when the FA hired Brailsford to consult on the appointment of a New England manager back in 2016. And the process produced Sam Allardyce. Since then, Ashworth has invited Brailsford to address the Newcastle squad, as we already know, and we've discussed in previous videos, but I didn't know that bit of information. Well, Brailsford and Ashworth worked together on hiring the England manager at the time.
Well, it just shows you how long they've known each other and what they regard each other in a working capacity with each other. So this is why I think United have spoken to Newcastle, because he has been a long-term target, and Newcastle have been playing hardball. And the issue what's come out now, where he's had to walk in and go, hey, I'm out of here. I'm not playing your games any longer. Get me out of here. But working on that England thing, talking about Southgate appointing the manager and all that, he was trusted to be involved in all that. Obviously, the Sam Allardyce thing, I think, may have come up at that time. That didn't work out for Sam because he, you know, accused of bungs. But, hey, that's football for you. And that's Sam for you. But the thing is, he's got a great CV, and you know, Ineos regard him as best in class. I just hope that he lives up to it. Do you know what I mean? And I hope that he gets on with Erik ten Hag, and they all work well together.
So, do you see this panning out? That whatever fee Newcastle want, Manchester United basically will have to pay. And especially in terms of how quickly they get Dan Ashworth here in his role at Manchester United, because, like you say, we want him here as soon as possible, really.
I think United have got an understanding that they're going to pay. I don't think it's a shock to them, to be honest with you. Like you've just said there, reports were that Newcastle paid Brighton a fee. So, you know, you'd expect it. So I don't think it's a shock. I think it might be a shock, the amount, because, you know, there's reports there talking about 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. Well, Newcastle will just play hardball for as long as they can and then release him at the end of May, because they'll want to bring somebody in double quick and away they go. But like I say, the stumbling block, blocking the deal at this moment in time, is the talk and the anger of him being, close to sensitive material, transfer business and commercial side of it. So that is sensitive, and that's what's blocking it. But also the big thing what's blocking it is because they now realise they are not the top of the tier football club they thought they were, fans and owners. That's a shock to them.
Yeah.
Big shock.
Yeah, big shock. Joseph says, afternoon, fellas. Love the show.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Appreciate it, mate. He says, I fancy us to finish in the top 4. What do you guys think?
I think it'll be tough. You know, you're not getting a partner play. Man United just, you know, there's supposed to be a team what closes down. There is no closing down. There's no closing down. You're just getting sporadic 10, 15 minutes in games and that. The partner play, they fight, they're in there. That's the difference. But the problem is they've got some big games coming up. You know, they've got Liverpool, they've got City, they've got Arsenal. Yeah. You know, there's 3 games. And I did say the other week, we can only afford to lose 1 game. Well, that ain't going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Not with the style of football we play. You know, these games we're hanging on. Absolutely brilliant results. Can't argue with them. Wolves away, Villa away, Luton away. You know, they're great results. Games of football are in the mouth stuff. You know what I mean? Blood pressure way up there. So to get to a top 4 playing that type of football, you're going to be very, very lucky. And I personally can't see it.
Yeah, I'm just going to dive into the chat. Back onto Dan Ashworth. Alvin says, it's an employer-employee contract and has to be reviewed. What about when Newcastle poached him from Brighton, ? What a joke from Newcastle.
Yeah, but they paid compensation. And if you look at Brighton, and you mentioned it before, Brighton are a selling club. And they always, it seems to me that Brighton have always got options in the background if certain people go, no matter what part of the club they go from the playing side, from the staff side or anything, that they just seem seamlessly, they carry on.
Yeah. I think someone's moving over to Chelsea. I've seen something earlier today. Is it Jewel from Brighton? It has something to do with the recruitment over there, going over to Chelsea. I think he's been put on gardening leave as well.
Well, this is what these big clubs are doing now. These
I think
clubs.
I might need some of that gardening leave myself, to be honest, for a bit. What do you think?
I won't mind it. I won't mind it sometimes. No, but this is the big business we're in now. You know, you're not talking about clubs that are worth a couple of 100 million. It's billions and billions, and people have got money on the line, billions and billions, and they've got big plans. And there's big plans coming up. There's big changes coming up in football. So they want to get the people in place now. That's what I see the structure of the way football's going. They want these billionaires and all that, what are owning these football clubs. They want the right people in place because they're aware on things what are going to change down the line.
Yeah, just going to go back into the chat. Hey, Aaron, thanks for keeping a total on the video chat. The likes going on.
Oh, top man.
Yeah, top man for that. Anyone who's watching us live right now, please smash a like on the video if you're enjoying it.
And those who later on who aren't watching, smash that like also.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder there. You're getting better and better each video.
Well, that's why you might need your gardening leave.
Yeah.
Telling you.
Over the summer, though, if you can sort that out.
Winter's not too bad as well.
Yeah, I'm going to dive back into the chat. Mickey says again, will Ten Hag keep his job if he doesn't get top 4? It's a lot of, well, I see that same question being asked quite a lot, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he will keep his job no matter what, because I don't see the why change it. You know, Ineos are going to be in charge of the transfer policy and everything. Erik Ten Hag's going to be a coach. You know, he's going to coach with players what's coming in. He's got players there. There's players coming through. I don't see the point. I just don't see the point of when you bring in so many people in, right, what are needed to run this football club, right, to get a plan together going forward, to get it back to the top of the tree again. I don't see why the disruption with the squad and the manager should be any different. I think it's a year. Everyone look at it, see where we are. Listen, we might get fifth. We might get fifth, and that, by all reports, is a 70% chance of us getting back in the Champions League.
Yeah.
But I go on, people are screaming, get top four, we want the Champions League and all that. There's no point going in the Champions League if we're going to finish bottom.
Yeah.
No point at all if we're not going to add to this squad. That's how I see it from a footballing point of view.
Don't get me wrong, I do think Erik ten Hag gets it. He gets the standards, and he gets Manchester United fans, the culture, etc. And definitely the history. But I've always said from the start, and you said it as well, you know, that third year for me. So next year, you know, for me, he needs to perform. He needs to get this club and get the players in specifically
without a doubt.
ticking and get us up that league.
Listen, I've always said 3 years. Let's see where he is after 3 years. It's as simple as that. And he's going into his third season.
And it's about actually seeing a proper style of play week on week, not just for like 10 minutes in games as well. You know, for the majority of games as well, being able to control them as well, especially when we're leading games.
It's about seeing everything.
Yeah.
That we're back able to challenge. That's what I want to see, a style of play and everything. I'm not seeing a style of play. I don't think anyone out there with hand on their heart can say, I can see a style of play. You might see a style of play for 15 minutes and then it just changes, you know.
You might see the odd thing on the football pitch. Like
That's all you see.
Like Delol the other day against Luton, you know, either side of half-time, you're making runs in the centre-forward position from a goal kick. You can clearly see that's been worked on the training field, but you still want to see more. We deserve more.
We deserve more, and the reason why we're not getting more is because some of them players aren't good enough.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's clear and obvious to us all out there that some people just ain't doing what they're expected to do. So this summer is imperative, and it always was going to be this summer for Erik ten Hag. What do you do now? Listen, Ineos, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to transfers, are looking more at getting rid of the people we consider not good enough to take this club and play for this club going forward. This is the summer to get rid of them all and then bring in a few players.
Yeah, David Featherstone, cheers for your positive comments, my mate. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Abra in the chat says United are laying the foundations and it's all good. Do you see that being done in the background in terms of, for me, it's going to be a lot of the emphasis is going to be on youth recruitment and bringing them through?
I don't think the full emphasis is on youth recruitment, but everything's being done in the background, right? And you can't, listen, you can't run a business without the right people in place. And Ineos want the right people. And as far as they're concerned, the best in class people, okay? United haven't had that. We've had a complete bunch of fools. And that's not me, being harsh. We've had a bunch of fools who haven't had a plan, who don't know how to do dealings with transfers and all that. You know, look at the Anthony transfer. Comical. It's a joke. We paid over twice as much as what they wanted in the first place. Run by comedians. Get the best in class, and it takes time. But Erik ten Hag has got the time and another year, and he's got this summer transfer. But
well, you look at it next year as well. You know, the starting 11 he'll probably put out, his strongest one, will be his team. It will be his starting 11, and a lot of them players, eight of them, 9 of them at least, will be the players that he's bought. You would have thought, especially after having another summer transfer window down his throat this summer.
You would have expected the third season.
There's no excuses.
I didn't say there was going to be.
No, I didn't say
there is no excuse. You ain't getting excuses. This is his third year. Manager's third year. You know, this is the top of the tree, is it? Manchester United. Third year, regardless of all the chaos. That means he's had 2 years to get rid of all the chaos and deal with it, keep his job, right? And then everything's there. He knows he knows who the rotten eggs are inside there. Right? He knows who they are.
I know what people are going to say right now in the chat. Well, why is Marcus Rashford playing week on week
I didn't say that. right?
But I'm just, no, I was just
this
saying what
summer,
people, yeah.
right, people, yeah. Well, if people go on about Marcus Rashford, I go on about Marcus Rashford. I try not to, but I get drawn into it by somebody. But the thing is, right, this summer, he knows who all the rotten eggs are. He knows what the problems are. Everyone inside the club knows what the problems are. So this summer, right, bang, sweet, boom. And as I've said, massive sackings, right? It has to be done. And then there's Eric Ten Hag's team. And there's the people who want to play for him. Simple as. And he's got to produce. He should have the right people in place and especially behind him, backing him up. Whereas he's not had the people backing him up before. They've left him to the wolves, answering all the questions, being out there all the time. He's the one what suffered. Do you know, if he weren't bald, he'd have gone bald.
Yeah. Stephanie, thanks for keeping account in the live chat. 6 away from 100 likes, over 400 watching. Get into the ribs of everyone there to smash that like button, Steph. A few people talking about what sort of targets we should go for as well in the summer. And don't get me wrong, my wish list is, you know, as long as my arm, to be honest with you. But I think we definitely need a centre forward. I would say another midfielder and definitely a centre back or two. I think that spine of the team needs sorting as well.
You talk about a wish list. I don't know any kid what sat there waiting for Father Christmas to come down the chimney, right? Who's brought everything what that kid's wished for. So we ain't getting it. Yeah. We ain't getting it. Yeah. And Ineos ain't that. They're not coming straight in and splashing the cash. The cash won't be there, right?
But if you look at some of the players who are on the fringes of the squad, you know, you're looking at Jadon Sancho. Can we move him on for a fee this summer? You've got Mason Greenwood as well. You know, Scott McTominay and Maguire. You know, they were close by all reports in the summer last year of leaving Manchester United. So if you look at the fees you could possibly get there to bring players in, you know, that's a few quid just off them players.
It's a few quid if that happens. Okay, it's as simple as that, isn't it? Yeah. You know, if Greenwood gets sold, if someone wants to buy him and we get offered decent money, then he goes. The same with Scott McTominay, the same with Harry Maguire. You know what I mean? These people, right, were looking to be pushed out of Manchester United. So there's just 3 players. So they could go. What might hinder that, and everyone's got to remember this, is the Euros. Okay?
Yeah,
that
true.
might hinder a lot of the transfer business.
Yeah, you've got other players in the squad as well who you think maybe time's up. You know, Christian Eriksen, I'd say this is his final season at United. You know, a lot of people out there
can't last 90 minutes, the kid.
No, he can't. And you're looking at Anthony as well on the right wing, a Ten Hag signing. You know, has he had enough time here to try and, you know, convince all the Man United fans that he's good enough to take us forward? I'm not too sure.
Anthony's got another year, right, to prove himself.
Okay.
And that he'll be given that other year.
Okay. Anything more to add before we go, though?
No, that's me.
Yeah. Just like to thank everyone for joining us today, for getting involved as well in the live chat. If you want to continue it, get involved in the comments below, and we will read some of your comments. Smash a like on the video, and we'll be back
tomorrow.
Enjoy your day, everyone, and we'll see you again soon. Much love. Thank you.
Thank you. That water there,